Give us a sec. Tam, come on down.
He's on his way.
Okay, well, I'm going to start just in the interest of time, and I apologize. Again, we're running late. I want to thank Reverend Dr. Alan Potts right here, who's filming me, so I better not make any mistakes, for his leadership at the Greater Abyssinian Baptist Church here. Thank you for hosting us, Reverend, so graciously as you always do. I know Mayor Raz Baraka is going to join us in a second. His brother Mitty is here, I see. Councilman John Sharp James is in the back. Councilman, great to see you. And thank you for joining us here. I think I'm going to start, if that's okay with my friends. Again, before I take any questions you've got, I wanted to make a few observations on what happened in New Jersey yesterday. New Jersey voted its values, most importantly, decency, inclusion, fairness. They are the values that the First Lady, I'm honored to have her with me, and I heard from thousands of voters we met over the past several weeks as we crisscrossed the state in support of our ticket. By the way, we did, we believe, over 70 events across all 21 counties. Moreover, they are the values that reject division, petty political finger-pointing, and gratuitous attacks. They are the values that favor a positive vision for our future. I had the pleasure of being with Senator Menendez last night. We did. In fact, I had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with Senator Menendez over the past couple of weeks. We congratulated him on his reelection. Hey, Reverend. And let me be perfectly clear. Mayor Baraka's in the house. Come on down, Mayor. I jumped in. I hope that's okay to start. Is that right? Not only did we congratulate him, but I also want to say that allow me to please to be perfectly clear. We could not ask for a more tenacious fighter for New Jersey in the United States Senate than Senator Bob Menendez. He won against the greatest political onslaught in our state's political history. And now we will have him continuing to stand up for us in the Senate alongside Senator Cory Booker. And he won that election in no small measure. And I have to give this shout out again, as I just did in the sanctuary, to Mayor Raz Baraka. There were elections in Essex County. Happily, our team won a lot of them, which is great. Alter Kenny is here, is elected as surrogate, so Judge Kenny, that's a big deal. But the fact of the matter is, in many respects, Bob Menendez got reelected based on what happened right here in Newark. So, Mayor, thank you for your friendship and leadership and support. I also reached out to Mikey Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and prosecutor, former Assistant Secretary of State Tom Malinowski, and Dr. Jeff Van Drew, a dentist and state senator, to congratulate them on their elections to the House of Representatives. Andy Kim's race against Tom MacArthur in CD3 remains too close to call. We're going to have to wait a few more days, I think, and I remain hopeful that Andy will prevail. And let's keep in mind, by the way, that 2 years ago, this was a district that wasn't even contested, and that was in 2016. So all in all, we've grown our Democratic delegation to its greatest majority since the Watergate era. And we'll send the fewest number of Republicans to the House in over a century. I think it's 1913 to be exact. And literally 2 years ago yesterday, we had a House of Representatives reality in New Jersey that was 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans. And as we sit here today, it's going to be 10-2 or 11-1, depending on how Andy's race turns out. I also want to salute Josh Welly for his efforts throughout the campaign. He and his wife, Angela, did more than anyone expected. They're exceptional individuals. And I might add, I am not only the titular head of the Democratic Party, I'm also the governor. I reached out and congratulated Congressman Chris Smith this morning. I can't wait for our new representatives to get sworn into office on January 3rd and to join the other tremendous voices in our delegation, each of whom won: Frank Pallone, Bill Pascrell, Albie Osiris, Donald Payne Jr., Donald Norcross, Bonnie Watson-Coleman, and Josh Gottheimer, so we can all work together to protect our New Jersey values. Across the state, voters turned out in numbers few of us could have imagined for a midterm election. And I thank every one of them for refusing to take a back seat in our democracy and for exercising their sacred right to vote. We were together yesterday, and we made the point that folks fought and died for the right to vote. So one of the candidates on the other side said he hoped it would rain so it would suppress turnout. And I thought to myself, man, that's not American. That ain't right. You had people who were killed in order for that right to vote. Because of them, we have elected Democrats where not very long ago no one thought it would be possible. New Jersey Democrats had a big night because we've invested historic amounts, largely through the Democratic State Committee, in strengthening local and county party infrastructure all across the state, in traditionally red areas as well as the traditionally blue. We're taking a new view that it isn't just about the places where Democrats dominate, although it is, but equally about the places where Democrats need resources to reach out and grow. It is the Howard Dean in me and in us. You saw that on our campaign, and we have extended it now through this election, and you should expect to see a lot more of this to come. We help recruit and train candidates in coordinated efforts across our congressional campaigns. We ran the largest GOTV, or Get Out the Vote, operation ever, with strategic digital aspects that help drive our message, including we got Barack Obama to get the word out to over 100,000 voters in specific. As a result, the Democrats will now have, not just in Congress, but there are other elections and moments yesterday that we have to acknowledge and celebrate. We have control of the Freeholder Board in Burlington County for the first time since 1975. We also won the county clerk's race there. We handily won 2 freeholders in Somerset County. I think it's the first time we've had freeholders in Somerset County, I'm told, since 1979, the year I got out of college. There's going to be a Democratic mayor and 2 new Democratic council members in Flemington, New Jersey, and Hunterdon County. We continue to make inroads in Morris County with the mayor's race in Morris Plains and with wins at the council level in both Chatham and Morris Township. And by the way, Morris County is a good example where even in losing, we narrowed margins dramatically on some of the statewide races, and that helped you. Obviously, that helps you elsewhere. We have the first Muslim American councilman right next door to us in Monmouth County, Hasim Yassin, who was elected in Red Bank, a dear friend of ours. We picked up local seats in Western Union County, which is long a GOP stronghold. And as we mentioned in the sanctuary, and I have to say again, thanks to the mayor, African-American turnout in Newark went above and beyond any of our goals. Thank you again, Mayor. Bless you. But that doesn't mean everything went smoothly, and we're doing a postmortem on all of this. We saw too many areas with long lines, like in Jersey City, and areas with issues with ballots, as in Passaic County. These problems would not be an issue, I might add, if we had true early voting in New Jersey. In other words, not just by mail, but physically showing up and voting like a lot of other states do. It's something I support. I know the mayor supports it, that the legislature, by the way, has supported, and Governor Christie has vetoed. It is long past time for us to enact that, and that's something we're going to push for. Having said all this, we still have a president who holds our New Jersey values in contempt and whose views increasingly isolate us in the world. The U.S. Senate is in greater Republican control, meaning a greater ability for them and the president to seat judges hostile to our shared beliefs. But the House is flipped, in large part thanks to New Jersey, and will now serve as an important check on President Trump and the more extremist fringes of the Senate, especially on important issues that impact us, like protecting the Affordable Care Act, ensuring tax fairness, fighting climate change, other steps to shrink the inequities in our society. And across the country, come January, we'll have at least a net increase of 7 Democratic governors from a very low point. We have, as of now, 16 Democratic governors, which is the lowest or smallest number since 1922. We think we've picked up at least 7, I hope 8, but I'm not sure I'm going to count on that yet. And that's a huge deal, and that's another group of folks who will stand for good governance and stand for the things that we believe in, and I look forward to working alongside of them. But here at home, next year, we'll bring a new election cycle and another chance for us to further prove how much we value our New Jersey values. That work begins today. But I'll continue to work. I know the mayor will continue to work, as I've done over the past 9 months, and by the way, I was elected 1 year ago today, to make New Jersey an example for sound, progressive change that benefits everyone who calls this great state home. That's the change New Jerseyans voted for, and it's the change we must deliver. I know the mayor joins me in that plea and message. I also would say that in absentia, Senator Menendez does as well. He wanted to be here. He has precious few hours to spend with his infant granddaughter who's up from Florida, and he made the right decision, and he's there with her and his daughter this morning and early afternoon, and we are standing up on his behalf in his spirit to say thank you. With that, I'll take a few questions if we could. Brian.
What was if you get early voting, if you get same-day registration, I don't know if you support that, how would that change the complexion of New Jersey from a Democratic-Republican existence that we have now?
I don't know about the D and the R, and I stand here, Brian, both as the titular head of our party, but also as the governor. So, for instance, in the Andy Kim, Tom MacArthur race, it must be said that we want to make sure every vote gets fairly counted, regardless of which side of the ledger they fall on. But I hope so. I appreciate that. But I'll give you a couple of thoughts. Whether it's Democrat or Republican, I don't care. But I stand for opening up democracy. I think the mayor joins me strenuously in that. It is fair to say the other side of the aisle historically has wanted to close democracy. Governor Christie vetoed that bill I just mentioned a minute ago, and he's not alone. This is these harangues about voter fraud, for instance. But one thing you'd have if you had early voting, you'd have two realities in-person physical voting. One is you wouldn't have had some of the confusion with the vote by mail that brought you. And by the way, let there be no doubt about it. While it may have brought some confusion, 400,000 people, over 400,000 people voted by mail. A third of them, we believe, are new voters. So at the end of the day, while there may have been kinks in the system, if you believe in opening up democracy and spreading democracy, this is a big step. But if you had in-person voting, and say 30 days in advance, you wouldn't have had a lot of the confusion that you saw yesterday. Secondly, it rained like heck yesterday. I mentioned that was a plea that somebody had put forward. You wouldn't be beholden to one day of New Jersey transit breaking, God forbid if that ever happens again, or bad weather, or whatever it might be. So that opens democracy up. There's no question evidence in other states suggests that it brings more people out to vote. So I'm a big believer in that. Michael. Michael, forgive me for not calling on you first. I didn't. Brian shouted out.
Brian's been around.
Yeah, Brian's had a couple of years here as well.
How disappointed are you that the totality of the evening nationally was not a rebuke of President Trump?
Yeah, I mean, the mayor and I were together with Tammy last night in a suite in a hotel watching endless reports, and we said it in the sanctuary. I think you may have heard us. We struck a huge blow in New Jersey, so there's no question about that. And we struck a blow nationally. We didn't strike as deep a blow as I think we had wanted to. So, plus 7 governors is a big deal. But I know the mayor joins me in bemoaning Andrew Gillum, who's a rock star, didn't get elected governor of Florida. Stacey Abrams is not called, I don't think, unless it's been called since we were in the sanctuary. That looks tough at the moment. I don't like the fact that the Senate went the other way. I mentioned already my biggest concern there is less legislation than right-wing judges. So we also have to look at, I'm told this is true, even in the Senate races, I think my team will tell me if I've got this wrong, I believe 10 million or more votes, plurality for the Democratic candidates in the aggregate versus the Republican candidates. So that's something you hope you can build on. The problem is, of course, the way the states sorted out, they didn't come out in the right place to get more senators elected. So I think it's largely flipping the House. Let's not underestimate that. We desperately needed more checks and balances, and we got that. I bemoan the fact the Senate went a little deeper, particularly for judges, and I would have liked to have won Florida, and I hope we can still win Georgia and a couple of the big states. Please.
How much power is our delegation going to have at this point in terms of helping New Jersey, and in particular, we're looking for things like funding for the Gateway Tunnel?
I think a lot. Now, that implies that we didn't have cooperation and fairness from some of the folks who will no longer be there in January. And I would give Rodney Frelinghuysen from the other side of the aisle a big shout-out, who's been outstanding as the chair of the Appropriations Committee as it relates to Gateway Tunnel. So I am – not all of them were good citizens, in my humble opinion, for the interest of New Jerseyans, and that's all I care about. But many of them were. I think this will be even more powerful. You'll have Frank Pallone, among other things, as the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is among the most powerful in the country. It includes all things health care. That's a big deal in and of itself. You'll see Bill Pascrell work his way up in Ways and Means, to pick two examples. So I think this is a good, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that's a good outcome for New Jersey. Please.
Governor, I would like to ask about education. The question being that 13 community colleges received a tuition-free program, and 6 colleges did not, including Susquehanna College. The question that's being asked around the media is, how come some schools did not receive it, and what was the criteria
For
was used to
yeah.
pick it up?
So the question is, there are 19 county colleges, and we have begun in our budget last year, the step, or this year rather, toward access to community college for everybody.
Yes, sir.
And I'm proud that we're taking a very big step beginning January. All 19 colleges got some amount of money to what they call capacity build to get the word out that this program existed. And then there was a contest, and I can't remember all the elements of it, but there was a process, a transparent process. 13 qualified. There's no reason the other 6 can't qualify in the next round, and I'm hopeful that they will. There's a limited amount of money, obviously, so that's the one thing you have to be careful of. But the key thing here is people say to me all the time, not all the time, most people love this, but the folks who don't like it say, hey, wait a minute, this is costing us money. Well, let me tell you where the money is going. It's a last dollar program, which means the student has to have exhausted all other sources, including Pell Grants and other sources of financial aid. And secondly, this step is targeted at households with adjusted gross income of $45,000 or less. So these are folks who are living at or below the poverty line, who otherwise either can't afford to go to county college, or they can, but they string it out for 6, 8, 10 years because they can't do it full time because they have to work alongside of it. Thank you. Max.
Governor, have you
We do one or two more.
running for president in 2020?
100%. Please.
Pardon me, I just had a follow-up, sir, if you don't mind. Seeing the blue incursion into those areas that were red previously, how much of a priority is it for you to try to gain new seats in the legislature next year? Where?
Max, you're so polite, by the way. How could I turn down the follow-up?
I like the Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah, well, it's true. It's true, right? I always forget the Escalise quote, by the way. Listen, so you turn the page to 2019, it's a huge priority. You know, as the head, I'll now put my head of the party on. Head of the party, this is overwhelmingly, it'll be the legislature, the assembly, rather, at the top of the ballot. There may be, you can never predict, there might be some specials in the Senate, but it'll be overwhelmingly the state assembly, and I'm looking forward to working with them, incumbents and folks who are challenging seats held by the other side to help them get elected. I think you should see more of the same. You know, I said this a minute ago. I'm a Howard Dean guy, not Howard Dean as candidate for president, although I was fine with that, but as chair of the Democratic National Committee, which is a huge emphasis on the non-glamorous, non-headline stuff, infrastructure, building the launch pad from which candidates. And so I think you've seen a significant progress on that since our campaign. You can connect a lot of what we did then into what we did leading up to yesterday. I think you should expect to see more of the same. Please.
Can you just address the bond referendum that was approved last night?
Yep.
What does that mean for the state?
I think it's a good thing. I supported it. I voted for it. I think it was 52-48. It was a close call, which I understand, by the way, because we have a lot of indebtedness. This came to me, it was a $1 billion bill, and I cut it in half to $500 million, which that was my way of saying we got to be careful on our indebtedness, and we do, but the use of proceeds is pretty important. Vocational technical schools, that's right in the sweet spot of the innovation economy that we aspire to be a leader in. Secondly, school safety. In the world we live in, we can't ignore that. Thirdly, dealing with lead in the water in schools. Those are 3 very important uses. Please.
Good morning, Governor. My name is Joy from Just Joy Media. I work with about 12 social workers who work with at-risk youth. We want to know how we can access funding and property to address the issue of aging out youth.
I would love to be able to get you with my team. Can I take that offline? Because I don't have a glib, quick answer for you, but we take that very seriously, very happy to. Press members, please.
Thank you. I'm with Top and Two Newark. I have a 2-part question.
Do you see the mayor sitting beside you? Okay, just checking.
Senator Tom Kane Jr. recently said that Amazon coming to Newark, that they're not going to come because of the tax increases that were in the budget in July. What's your reaction to that?
What's your second question?
And are you still in talks with Amazon at all?
Yeah, I mean, the mayor should comment on this if he would like to. First of all, taxes have never come up in terms of what we did in the budget. So I appreciate Senator Kane weighing in. I notice he's weighing in a lot on NJ Transit the past 9 months, bless his heart. I'd like to know where he was over the past 8 years when it was being gutted by his friend Chris Christie. We're fixing the damn thing. They broke it. We're fixing it. So I would have loved to hear a little bit more from him circa 9 months to 8 years ago. Did you hear that? And secondly, Mayor, is it fair to say there's a lot of speculation right now? Do you want a lot of speculation on Amazon? I think it's speculation still. Yeah. So we don't know. And by the way, Amazon's consideration of Newark and Newark as a finalist is a huge win, no matter what Amazon ends up doing. And we've said that from day one, right? It sharpened our game. It brought us closer together in our teams. Somebody said New York faces, New York, Chicago, they face 100-mile-an-hour fastballs every day in terms of corporate interest. Newark hasn't had that until this guy came along. Now we can bat against 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, whether they come or not. Michael, one more and we're done. Thank you.
On Gateway, what impact do you think the results of the congressional election has on that? The Democrats control that.
Yep. So it's a good question. And this is on Gateway. I hope it's a positive impact. I don't know the president that well. I've spoken to him a couple of times. It's all about Gateway, by the way, when I speak to him. I'm told by folks who know him a lot better than I do, and this is speculation, so this is not my opinion, that he plays the hand that he's been dealt. And if you believe that and there's more checks and balances from the House, maybe he has a different impulse on Gateway. I hope he does. I remain optimistic. Rodney Frelinghuysen has been outstanding. I think the way this is set up, I think Nita Lowey is probably next in line to be chair of the Appropriations Committee. She's a New York congresswoman. She's a good friend of ours for way back. The New York and New Jersey delegations are locked in together on Gateway. So I think that's probably a good thing. If it wasn't going to be a New Jersey representative, having someone from New York is a good thing. And I think there's more strength in, if you have a 10-2 or an 11-1 split and you're in the majority in Washington and you're the one who's checking and balancing, your party is the one that's checking and balancing, that's probably a good formula. Thank you all so much, everybody. Thank you, Mayor.